Welcome to Midlife Unlimited Live. I'm your host, Kate Porter, the Midlife Metamorphosis Coach, and I'm delighted to be joined today by my episode 57 guest, the wonderful Claire Best, to give a taste of our episode that's available now, wherever you listen to your podcasts, how to recognize your resilience. So, welcome, Claire. It is fabulous to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to do the LinkedIn Live too. It was great to chat to you on the wider episode. But yeah, great. I think a perfect timing is I think you're going to
No,
allude
well,
to chatting about what we've been talking about on the podcast.
firstly, a huge and heartfelt thank you to you because I know you have, and I've had so much feedback from men and women who are like, wow, what a raw, open conversation. So thank you for sharing your story because I know you're a very private person and it's not something you bandy about on social media. So I really feel thank you for that. But as you just said as well, we've held off because our episode came out a few weeks ago, but it's available everywhere you listen to your podcasts and it's a banger and it's positive and it's upbeat. It's it's joyous. It really is. And we held off, as you just said, because this time of year we're coming out. Obviously, this is going to be out in the ether forever and ever, but we're coming out just before Christmas, and there are going to be people watching who have lost someone this year or know someone who's lost someone this year and are facing that first Christmas. And Christmas is it's a bugger. It's the most horrible time of the year potentially because everyone else is having a fabulous time. They're all caught up in their own stuff, aren't they? It's tough, isn't it? It can be potentially tough.
Yeah, I think part of it, you hit the nail on the head there with people are caught up in Christmas is so busy for people. There's lots of things to do, whether you're going away or you've got your presents to buy or you've got to go and see Father Christmas, whatever it is, people are busy, and I think that makes it more difficult as well because, you know, people, of course, you're going to be front of mind for people, but equally people have got their lives that they're getting on with. So, it can feel especially lonely at Christmas time, especially if you've lost someone.
Yeah. Now, I hope you don't mind for people watching on video that haven't listened, why not, to the audio episode yet. Give some context. We start off our episode talking about hats because that was the kind of how we started talking about the episode, wasn't it? And how we wear so many different hats. But then sometimes life throws, I won't say curveball, but hats are changed so suddenly. And it's like the old rug being pulled out. And that happened to you, didn't it? You were juggling so many hats and then suddenly your label shifted. Just tell us what happened.
Okay, so 2018, the beginning of 2018, I had a wife hat, I had a business owner hat, and I had a mum hat. And I probably had a bit of a Claire hat, but I don't really, it's the old
Yeah.
oxygen mask,
Who?
isn't it? You're
Yeah.
probably the last, that's probably the last hat I was wearing. So I had those other three hats. My husband, Paul, had been ill for quite some time and had to go have an operation in the June of 2018. And sadly, as much as he fought through the operation and, afterwards in intensive care, he never woke up. So he died, he passed away, he died in June 2018. So very suddenly I wasn't a wife anymore. I was a widow. So I had a new hat to wear. And obviously I had a 9-year-old son at that point to look after. So it was very much a shift that, it's the change that you don't want. Most people find change a bit difficult. And then when change is enforced on you, it's tough. And it's about, the podcast episode, I think we cover sort of how you move from being surviving to thriving again and learning to do that. And I think the backbone of that was the resilience that you discover you either didn't know you had, or you just find it and you get on with it. So yeah, that the podcast obviously talks about my story about with Paul, my husband, in a lot more detail, but that's the kind
Yeah,
of
I just wanted
situation,
to
the back of the story.
yeah, not for the sake of gory details, but just to give a bit of backstory as well to make more impact with what we're talking about now. Now, one thing that sticks in my head from our conversation, because you share so many insights, and I don't like the word tips, but they are really, and they're not just tips for people who are personally going through bereavement and this massive change, but for all of the other people, friends, family around. Because, and again, at this time of year, one thing that really struck me is the whole idea of, oh God, we that kind of guilt, we better have so and so around because they're on their own. And how do you tackle that without them feeling like a spare part or a sympathy vote? But also that, oh, I'm here if you need me. And you said that actually isn't that helpful, really,
No.
saying those words. I'm here if you need me. Call me if you need
Yeah.
anything.
You know where we are. That's the
Yeah.
phrase. You know where we are. And unfortunately, it's said with great intent. You know where we
Oh,
are.
yeah.
I've done it, but when you are in the situation where you are grieving, and the adrenaline maybe is you have the adrenaline pumps for a certain amount of time, and you get through certain things, and then the grief starts to hit, and people go, where we are. It's like, I don't have the energy to think about how you could help me. Actually, what would be really useful is just to suggest,
Mm.
if you are in this situation, suggest to someone something they could do. Don't go, well, what can I do? I haven't got the energy to be able to work out what you could do. Whether it's, we talk about, pop round with some food or something. Don't even ask about it. Just pop round and say, look, you can whack this in the freezer. Just it's there. Or, go and offer to walk the dog. Or, can I go and pick up, your child from school today? Or, or do you want me just to come round and I'll come make you a cup of coffee? Now,
Mm.
sometimes people will go, I just want to be left alone. And that's, you can
Yeah.
do, it's not about going, oh, well, I won't ask again. It's
No.
just, they're
It's not
saying,
a time for taking offense, is it? It's not a
yeah,
time, but it's not a time for worrying about saying the wrong thing, because I know I've
it's,
done it. You end up don't you don't say anything for fear of saying the wrong thing.
that is a massive thing. And I think we cover it. I know we cover it in the podcast where, the weekend after Paul died, I kind of almost had people moving away from me slightly because they didn't know what to say. And I think,
Mm.
say something, even if it's the wrong thing, rather than say
You said,
nothing.
like, didn't you go
Because
to a fete or something, and it was like the
I
parting of
went
the
to
Red
bed, and then
Sea?
yeah, not. I mean, it wasn't too bad about the party ways, but you could feel people were just kind of like, oh, I don't really know what to say. So, saying something, suggesting something is better than nothing,
Yeah.
because it still shows you care. But that person is just in, is struggling to literally put one foot in front of the other. And I think that's one of the other things that we talked about that I think is really important at Christmas is, sometimes it's okay not to be okay. Anytime it's okay not to be okay. And I think the pressure to have to take part in Christmas is huge. And it's
Mm.
okay to just go, do you know what, this year I'm just going to pull back a bit. I had a situation, my son was 10, also no, he was 9, sorry, at the point of the first Christmas. And so I had to, I had to carry on. He still, he
You've got
was,
the play. I was
expecting
That's what
Christmas.
I was thinking. You've got so many things, and it's not just the tradition, it's the school linked things as well, isn't it? Like the Christmas fair, they've got to take stuff in for teacher, they've got to
Yeah,
do the school
yeah.
play, they've got the carol concert, and it's just, oh,
But actually, it's okay not to get all of that right. But I think, for me, the priority was definitely James and making sure that he had as good a Christmas as he could. But I think, that whole Christmas thing, we all have traditions that we've done with people. We all have, whether for us it was, my son used to decorate with Paul the tree outside with lights and those sorts of things. And for me, we found actually finding new traditions was really good.
I
So
was going to
actually
say,
James was always
yeah.
the person then that put the fairy on the Christmas tree, and there was that sort of thing. So you find, and we used to go and do the pantomime together. So it was, and I appreciate that's not going to be so relevant with people who haven't got smaller children, but it's just examples of things that you can do, new traditions that you can create. But it's those traditions that you've done, especially for people that have been with someone for years, or it's a mum that you've maybe lost, that they passed on a tradition to you. It's really hard, and I think it's okay to just take a step back and just go, maybe this year we won't do that, but maybe we'll start it again next year. Or, the pressure. Christmas has this, and we do this. I was out yesterday, and people were chatting about, oh, what do we always have on your Christmas plate on Christmas Day? And it's like, even things like that, it's like, it's hard to then go, oh, I've got to go and do this, I've got to do this. And so I think giving yourself, if you're someone who has lost someone this year, giving yourself permission to not have everything all sorted is, be kind to yourself. And I think if you are with someone who has lost someone this year, it's about, being kind and just saying, do you know what, I'll take a little bit of that weight on. Or is there something you'd like me to help do? Is there, can I cook part of the Christmas dinner? I appreciate so and so used to do that, but maybe, is there something I can do on this Christmas dinner to help, or whatever it might be. So I think it's, it's especially, especially if your kids have flown the nest and you have lost, that partner. It's an especially lonely time at Christmas.
Yeah.
So, I think scooping people up and just keeping an eye on them and inviting them to things, but also accepting that they may not want to come because they may just want some time by themselves, I think is really important,
isn't it? And it's that fine line of them not thinking that they're only being invited because you feel sorry. It's so difficult.
we're in a world of, certainly, if you've lost a partner, we are in a world of people, of couples, and so, you go to these things, you go to a New Year's Eve thing or whatever, and it's like, oh, I'm the single person. But actually, I was super lucky. I had a fantastic group of friends who, if we had a dinner, I'd say dinner parties or dinners out are really tough to
Yeah.
negotiate, and especially around Christmas, because you're all sitting around a table and it's very obvious, you've got partners.
Yeah.
And actually, they were really good. They used to always just sit completely randomly. So actually, it was just a group of friends. So, which is a really nice way to do it. So you're not feeling like there's a gap. I mean, I know some people do like to have there's a certain place that person's always sat at the table, and they like to keep that free. And that's a lovely way of doing something as well. For me, it was about more, just creating some new traditions and creating some space that, both myself and my son felt comfortable in.
Because I love that, because I think my main takeaway, that again from what you've been saying just now, is don't put too much pressure on yourself, because sometimes with so many things in life, we are the ones that put that pressure to do this, to be this, to look like this, to give this image to the outside world. And I can think there could be a
Yeah.
danger perhaps of almost going down the route of burying yourself in trying to maintain that perfect exterior of and running yourself ragged, where inside you just want to curl up in a ball and just turn the lights out until January.
But actually, do you know what? That's also a coping mechanism. So if that
Yeah.
works for you, if you want to just kind of go, I'm just gonna put a front on and just get, because I'll share. Sometimes that's what I did. You just kind of put the face on and you go, and then you come back and you're like, but it is exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting doing that. But sometimes that's just kind of, we're not as resilient as we, want to be. And, sometimes we go out there and we put a mask on just to kind of get through that occasion or that day or whatever. And some people that, Christmas Day, that's not even someone that's lost someone. There are people that will be doing that on Christmas Day because
Sometimes
they
it's
find it
just
really
the old me.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, the old me would do it all the time. Sometimes it's just easier to do that. And I'm not advocating it, but sometimes if you're in a specific situation that you can't really get out of, it is that old grin and bear it. But that's that's another conversation for another day. This really is, and viewers, I do say, please do put the kettle on, grab a mince pie, go and take some me time and listen to our full length audio episode, because it's beautiful.
It's
It's
not, given it's about losing a loved one. Actually, I think the podcast is quite positive. I'm naturally a very positive person.
and there's laughter
Yeah.
and your answers to your three questions as well. But also, and I'll ask you now, because we don't talk about, well, it's not a business podcast. Anyone who's listened to Midlife Unlimited will realize that. But we do have obviously your contact details in there. So looking ahead, I mean, I don't know if you're probably busy over the Christmas time as well, but obviously all your contact details are in the show notes for our episode, and you have your guest profile with your gorgeous photo on the Midlife Unlimited podcast website. But can you just talk us through how anyone's thinking, right, 2026, I'm going to get my marketing sorted and Claire is the woman I want to speak to? How can they get in touch with you?
So they can get in touch with me through my website, which is clairebestmarketing.com. They can get to me via LinkedIn here, so they'll see my details. You can just look me up, but you'll also see them attached to this LinkedIn Live. And essentially, I'm just trying to help people at the moment. I've got people coming to me going, I want to do something for my marketing in 2026, which is fab. But even if we start now, I've got people who are chatting to me now this side of Christmas to start getting ready. But it's never too late to plan your marketing. So, and that's what I do. I help people make sure they're focusing on the right things so that their marketing is actually delivering, rather than, we try lots of things. We've got lots of trends that are really easy. Someone's doing this, I better go do this. So it's all
the
about
marketing should
making sure that making sure marketing is right for you. That's essentially what I do. So please get in touch if that's something that you think will be of use.
And I highly recommend chatting to Claire, because she's so easy to talk to. And even as she just said, even if you really don't know where you're going, that initial chat can open up so many ideas and so many inspiring thoughts. And talking of inspiring thoughts, head over to the website too for details of my Midlife Unlimited VIP coaching. And if you're toying with the idea of taking the podcasting world by storm in 2026, Pop Your Podcast Cherry is for you. One-to-ones with me. What more can I say? So thank you, Claire, for joining me today. As ever, it's been a pleasure and hugely appreciated. Thank you, dear viewers, for tuning in, whether you're on LinkedIn or joining us on YouTube. Is it too early to say Merry Christmas?
I don't think so. I think Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Here's to being fabulous, festive, and flourishing together, and to living Midlife Unlimited. Thanks ever so much, Claire.